Hello, and thanks for tuning in tonight to Answers for the Paranormal for a midsummer winter's night here on the east coast of the United States for February the 24th. My name is Bill Posey. I'm your host tonight, and on the line with me, my co-host Joe Marodi. What's going on tonight, Joe?
Well, you said midsummer's winter night, and boy, Bill, I'm telling you, we are in Philadelphia, just outside of Philadelphia in February, and I texted you today. I said, Bill, we're flirting with 80 degrees, and we did flirt with 80 degrees. Couple that with actually this past weekend and last weekend, we were in the 60s and the 70s for like a week straight. It's so unbelievable.
It is.
The weather that we've been... Let me share this with you real quick. Yesterday, I make myself a cup of tea. I'm off for a few days of work, and I go out in my backyard and I sit down on a bench that I got out there. And the sun is on me. I'm drinking this tea, and 5 minutes go by. I'm thinking, I'm hot. I got to get out of the sun. Now, Bill, when is the last time you ever heard anybody in the Northeast in February say, I got to get out of this sun because it's too hot?
I know.
It's crazy.
Joe, you should smell the barbecue cooking outside. There are people grilling out tonight. That's what it's like around here. And
well, that's what I did last night.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I grilled outside. Hey, Bill, trees are budding all over the place.
I know it.
Now I'm going to get a little bit about climate change tonight, but this must be heaven for the global warming crowd.
Oh, I'm sure.
I can hear all the "See, I told you so."
Yeah. Yeah, it should be any night now, Joe. We'll have a live appearance by Barack Obama talking about his his global warming initiative, and
that's right.
And how it's being put on the back burner, and how we need to enter into dialogue again with all these other nations concerning global warming. And I can just hear it now.
If it's not Barack Obama, Bill, it's going to be other groups that are going to pick up the torch now that he's out of the spotlight, so to speak.
I don't believe he's out.
No, he isn't. I mean, officially he's out of the spotlight, but and he's going to have his mark made somehow, somewhere. He's not going away anytime soon.
No.
In the same way that Bill Clinton didn't go away, Barack Obama is going to be with us for quite some, and Michelle Obama.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to think four years down the road. I think when Michelle Obama's name is brought up at any kind of rally, she gets more of a cheer than her husband does. So I think that we're going to be dealing with Michelle Obama in 4 years.
Yeah.
It's just a little foretaste. Of course, I was wrong about this last election, so I could be wrong about that.
Yeah. I did read a little snippet today, Joe, from I forget who the news agency was that reported it, but apparently some foreign countries are petitioning for Barack Obama to run for president again. And I said, do they know what our Constitution says today regarding that? I mean, he can't run again.
Well, in 4 years he can run again.
Yeah, but he can't run now,
No, we have a president now.
Yeah.
Much to the dismay of many, many, many people, I would assume, and we're going to get into some of those people tonight. Barack Obama has got to. He's got to go golfing. Got to go on. Hey, Bill. Barack Obama's not going to have to worry about money like you or I.
Mm-hmm.
If he makes one speech, he'll make more than the both of us put together in 1 year.
Yeah, no kidding.
He'll get $50,000, $75,000 a speech somewhere.
Yeah.
So he's not going to be lacking for anything to keep him busy for the next 4 years until his wife runs for president. So hey, look, we've got a lot to deal with, and we've got a lot of ground to cover tonight.
Yes, we do. Yeah, Joe, we actually have a produced show to bring out tonight. You know, it's hard to believe that the last time we broadcast it was on Christmas morning. But, you know, here it is, you know, almost 2 months later, and we're finally able to get back on the air, and you know, I consider it a real blessing for us to be able to do that tonight. And so, in regards to that, we titled the show tonight "The New World Order Agenda Behind the Women's March," and that's what our show is going to touch on tonight. And you know, we hope that that you'll stay with us for these next hour and 40 minutes. Again, we are Answers for the Paranormal. And Joe, why don't you give a brief bio here about who we are at Answers for the Paranormal?
Sure, Bill. We've been doing this since 2010. We are a Christian ministry, Christian internet ministry, and we deal primarily with the paranormal or the supernatural, and our ministry began as a result of my frustrations with viewing secular programming regarding the paranormal in the early 2000s, and then bringing you on as we spent a lot of time traveling to and from Center City, Philadelphia, doing chapel ministry at the Sunday Breakfast Rescue Mission down there in Center City, Philadelphia. We had a lot of time to talk in the car, and I shared a lot of my concerns with you regarding the fact that the secular world was preaching to the world what the paranormal was, what the supernatural is. Mm-hmm. And so we decided that Christians needed we needed to have a biblical worldview of the supernatural, since the Bible is the book which describes what the supernatural is. And so we started this ministry back in August of 2010, and we've produced, I don't even put a guess on the number of programs we've produced regarding ghosts, aliens, everything that has to do with supernatural and the paranormal. We've had so many different guests, authors, speakers, lecturers over the years, Bill. We've produced programs that have given out so much information. I think we've covered just about every area of the paranormal in the time that we've been in this ministry, and we've had occasion to actually go out and minister to some people who contacted us. Unfortunately, far and few between our personal contacts. But we've done what we were able to do with what the Lord has given us, and we've always trusted the Lord to give increase to this ministry, and we've always understood that any fruit that is born from this ministry, or any efforts made by Christians anywhere, any fruit that is born is all of the Lord. So we've encountered our struggles. We've really had some attacks on us personally over the years, and presently some very serious attacks on us, physically and spiritually. But the one thing that we've always understood, Bill, and we've always trusted is, as long as we've got breath in our lungs, we're going to continue to do what the Lord's called us to do. At some point, He's going to call us home, and and when that is, we have no idea. All we know is with each new day, there's an opportunity to expose evil, to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ, to uphold the Word of God, because Bill, we are in tumultuous times where it's easy to say you're a Christian, and it's easy to be a worldly Christian. We see the churches, quote unquote, everywhere on every corner that have rainbows out and are propagating a worldview of Christianity rather than a biblical view of Christianity. So as it gets tougher and tougher and tougher to maintain a biblical integrity, we're still here, and we're still doing what we believe the Lord has called us to do, and that's what we're doing tonight. And we've said it before, Bill, on broadcasts where it doesn't really appear from the title or from the subject matter to be a paranormal issue, but there was never a more true saying outside of the Bible than the devil is in the details. Mm-hmm. The devil is in the details of the Women's March, which is what we're going to bring out tonight.
Yeah.
And what we brought out in past broadcasts in regards to, false flags such as Sandy Hook and the Boston bombing and San Bernardino and events like that. So tonight's going to be no different, and hopefully we get through it in one show. If not, we'll produce another program on this.
Yeah, for sure. I think, Joe, as you were speaking there and going over how this ministry began, and I think you were saying this a couple days ago as we were texting back and forth that you look back at the beginning when the Lord called us to this, and how the enemy had attacked us head on, really trying to thwart the genesis of our ministry, and little attacks here and there as the years have gone by. But it just seems as though, like in the past year, we've, you mentioned it, whether it be physical or spiritual, but it seems that his program is amping up again as far as attacking us, and
right.
And trying to put obstacles in our way to be able to produce programs and to bring out information that is important in addressing the needs and what is going on out there today, and lending our voices to give a biblical worldview as to the culture and how it's changing. And make no mistake about it, Joe, our culture is changing by leaps and bounds in ways that I never had envisioned that it would get to the point that it's gotten to today. I mean, you have over half of the country that is totally anti-God, totally set against anything that has to do with middle America conservatism, to where voices speak out on issues. They're being thwarted, they're being attacked, and if they have to go to physical means to do that, they're doing it. And you and I had part of our growing up in the 60s, and I can remember some of the things that went on then, even though we were young, but I don't think it was anything like today, Joe. I mean, the protests today have just gotten completely out of hand and out of touch with what a quote-unquote protest is supposed to be about.
Yeah, I agree completely, Bill. And with regards to your comments on the attacks that we've endured, really, the only way that a Christian should, a biblical Christian should respond to the devil's attacks is to remain in faithfulness. Because really there is nowhere else to turn, Bill, because what else can we do? when you know the truth,
Mm-hmm.
there is nowhere else to turn. Because if you turn away from the truth, you turn towards a lie.
Yeah.
So for us, Bill, we've continued in the ways of the Scriptures and the teachings of the Scriptures and in what God has called us to do in this very specific ministry. And with regards to the protests of today and where this world is today, and in particular where this nation is today, Bill, it's not only anti-God, as you said, well over half of this country. I would say well over 75% of this country is anti-God. Not only are they anti-God of the Bible, they support and encourage evil.
Yeah.
So it's not only pushing against what God has said is right and wrong, it is propping up evil. And we're going to get into a little bit of that tonight. So, yeah, the challenges are ever growing for the believers who want to uphold Scripture. You know, for the worldly Christians, quote unquote, it's very easy for them to go with the tide, whatever the prevailing thought is of the day, and to also say that you are a Christian, to put a cross on your church building, and to say all are welcome, no matter what you believe, come on in, everybody's welcome, we're all one family. You know, that's not biblical Christianity. I'm sorry. That's just not biblical Christianity. So it's very challenging to continue to do these broadcasts because we know that the kickback against what we do manifests in so many different ways. And, you know, we don't always go into detail there, but Bill, but we were experiencing them. I was experiencing them personally today. We tried to produce tonight's broadcast 2 other times. So, you know, we're thankful that the Lord has given us this time tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna trust Him to make use of this time.
Yeah, that's right. Amen. All right, we want to get into our in the news segment, and Joe has a news story he'd like to address, and I have one as well. So, Joe, why don't you go first here? You're in the news.
Yeah, sure. There are what are known as chemtrails in the skies over Horsham, where I live, Bill, over the skies of Warminster, where you live, Bill, over the skies of all of Pennsylvania, over the skies of surrounding states like New York and New Jersey and West Virginia and Maryland and Ohio, over the skies of every state in this union, indeed, over every sky in this country. I know this because I've looked into it.
Mm-hmm.
These chemtrails are covering this world with something. They've been going on now, in my experience, intensely for 3 or 4 years. For myself, my own personal experience, worse over the last 2 years. There isn't a day that goes by, Bill, that I don't go outside and see whatever these aircraft are, leaving these chemtrails in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they are. I want to know what they are. People should want to know what they are, because we're breathing whatever this exhaust is in. The frustration in me has been building up for some time now, and I finally, this is something I should have done a couple years ago. This is something that everyone everywhere should be doing in this country. It's writing their representatives, their senators, local, state, and federal, on those levels with regards to what these chemtrails are. Now, I'm going to read verbatim a letter that I sent to, and I will tell you who exactly I sent them to right now, actually. I will tell you. I sent this email to Senator Pat Toomey, United States Senator Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania, United States Senator Robert P. Casey from Pennsylvania, United States Congressman from Pennsylvania Brendan Boyle, United States Congressman from Pennsylvania Patrick Meehan, State Senator, Pennsylvania State Senator Stuart J. Greenleaf, Pennsylvania State Representative Todd Stevens, also to the Governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf. Now, I'm also, and I haven't been able to do this yet, Bill, I'm also going to send this exact email. Well, I'll probably modify the email because of the wording, to environmental clubs such as the Sierra Club and other non-government organization environmental clubs. Also to the Environmental Protection Agency as well. Here is the letter that I drafted to those elected officials. My name is Joseph C. Marody, and I live in Horsham, Pennsylvania. For the past several years, I have noticed in the skies above a sharp increase in the frequency of what are known as chemtrails, exhaust trails from what appear to be identical aircraft. Sometimes these chemtrails crisscross, form a curve, or go from horizon to horizon. Chemtrails are not to be confused with normal airplane exhausts or condensation trails, which would be contrails. I do not know what we are being sprayed with. To my knowledge, no local, state, or federal official has ever addressed this issue. Here is what I want to know from you. A, what precisely is being sprayed from these airplanes? B, on whose authority is this being done? C, who is doing the spraying? D, why are we being sprayed? As an elected official, you should know the answers to all of my above questions. I expect a prompt response to my inquiry. Bill, I typed this on January 24th of this year.
Mm-hmm.
What's the date today?
Today?
Today.
February the 24th.
A month ago I typed this, okay? And I sent it out to all these. To date, with sending this to Toomey, Casey, Boyle, Meehan, Greenleaf, Stevens, and Wolf, I have one response.
Mm-hmm.
One response, okay? Here's the response from Todd Stevens, who represents District 151 of the state of Pennsylvania. He is a Pennsylvania state representative in District 151. Here is the response from Laura Smith, I guess is a representative in his office, okay? Here's what was written. Hi, Mr. Marody. You reside in the 7th Congressional District and are represented by Congressman Pat Meehan. His office can be reached at 610-690-7323. So right away, they refer me. What's that?
Passing the buck.
Passing the buck to Congressman Patrick Meehan. Okay. Now here's why. Here's why. Now, and they also say your senators are Senator Patrick Toomey, Senator Robert Casey. Yeah. If I didn't know that already.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
If our office can be of any further assistance to you, please do not hesitate to contact us. Now, here's where she gets into details. Oh, now this is from Todd Stevens. Okay. Okay. Hello, Mr. Marody. Thanks for reaching out to share your concerns on this issue. Unfortunately, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has no legal authority to regulate contrails pursuant to the U.S. Clean Air Act. Under federal law, quote, no state or political subdivision thereof may adopt or attempt to enforce any standard respecting emission of any air pollutant from any aircraft or engine thereof unless such standard is identical to a standard adopted by the EPA. I've attached an EPA fact sheet on this subject and have CCD'd Laura from my office, who can put you in touch with your federal officials who would be in a better position to respond to your questions and concerns. Thanks again, Todd. Todd Stevens, member, Pennsylvania House of Representatives. So what we see happening here, Bill, is, as you said, it's passing the buck as a result of the Clean Air Act of the federal government. Mr. Stevens is saying that he has no legal authority to regulate what is going on in the skies above the Pennsylvania area where he is supposed to be representative. Now, this goes directly, Bill, to the issue with states' rights as opposed to the federal government.
This is exactly right. And you know what, Joe? Really, he didn't answer your question. You didn't ask him, you know, what regulations there are. You know, it's more or less his way of saying, you know what, Joe? Psst, psst, I know, but I can't tell you.
Exactly.
That is what he said in his response. And you know what, Joe? That's unacceptable. You're an elected official. You need to answer questions by your constituents. I don't want to hear that Meehan is your congressman, ask him. Or I don't want to hear it's under the feds, ask them. Bogus.
Well, that's exactly what I meant, Bill, when I said as an elected official, you should know the answers to all of my above questions. What precisely is being sprayed from these airplanes? On whose authority is this being done? Who is doing the spraying? Why are we being sprayed? Bill, and I used this analogy with you and your wife a few weeks back. If someone was going down the highway of Pennsylvania, Route 80, or Route 611, or 276, our turnpike, in a vehicle, and in this vehicle there was something spraying out from this vehicle, you don't think the police would be stopping this vehicle?
Mm-hmm.
They would be worried about federal guidelines? This is happening in your state, and you know what? And at least Stevens got back to me.
Yeah,
Senator Stuart J. Greenleaf didn't even get back to me.
Yeah, I'll give him that much, Joe.
None of these people got back to me, except for Mr. Stevens.
Yeah.
Which his answer is unacceptable. Look, Bill, 10 minutes ago we talk about things that may not on its surface seem to be paranormal.
Yeah.
But who's overseeing? Okay, Mr. Stevens wants to defer to the federal government. Okay. So then who is orchestrating the spraying of whatever's being sprayed? My contention is that it's all spiritual. For some reason, whatever is being sprayed from these aircraft, and I've used my binoculars to look at these aircraft up close. Whatever is being sprayed from these aircraft is pursuant to a spiritual directive from the devil himself. I don't care what anybody thinks about this. There is nothing that happens that is coincidence. These airplanes are spraying something on people to have an effect on people somehow. Is it good? Hey, if it was good, you know what would have happened by now, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
if what these planes were spraying, and the scientific answer to this is so ridiculous that I don't even want to dignify it with a response, but I have to. They're trying to claim that at a certain altitude, planes leave an exhaust because of the water in the exhaust. It freezes at such a high elevation. It freezes and it forms a frozen water crystal, which is what you see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I understand that. But normal aircraft have a contrail, a condensation trail, in the same way that your car leaves a condensation trail when it first starts up in the morning and goes down the road for a couple miles. However, it's differed from for what these aircraft that I am seeing. Normal aircraft fly and leave a trail that dissipates as the plane moves along.
Yes.
The trails that I'm talking about, I can go up. And Bill, I've seen pictures of chemtrails 10 times worse than what we've ever seen in Fortune. It looks like they're getting ready to play a game of checkers in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that tries to tell me that that's normal, look, we're both in our late 50s. We've been around. We've seen airplane exhaust. This is something that we've never seen before. If this is something that has to do with new type of airplane technology, or if it has something to do with spraying that they say is going to be beneficial, there would have been a public announcement by any one of these elected officials, which is what I said. I've never heard of any sort of proclamation from any official agency to describe what is going on here. If it was benevolent, they would have said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we know that we know that you're seeing different sorts of patterns in the sky from airplanes. We don't want you to be alarmed. Mm-hmm. Here's what's happening."
Exactly.
That has never happened.
No.
All we are left with is questions that have never been answered.
Yep. And you know what's even more perplexing, I think, Joe? I mean, like you said, if it was something good, we would have heard about it. But in the same way, Joe, if there was a public outcry over these things, most likely we'd have heard about that as well. My question is, and what perplexes me is, why isn't there a voice out there of many people who are saying, hey, what's that up in the sky? Hey, how come the day starts out sunny and bright and by mid-morning there's total cloud cover because of this stuff that they're spraying in the air? Joe, it's like people just go... I tell you, it boggles my mind what people think about as they go through their day. What are they thinking about? Shouldn't this be something that concerns them? It sure as hell concerns me and you.
Well, Bill,
I don't get it.
You've taken the words right out of my mouth. And I shared this with you a while back. Probably more disconcerting to me than the actual spraying of these chemtrails is the lack of perception from human beings in seeing these chemtrails, these trails in the sky. Because I have talked to people, I have asked them, I said, what do you think that is? What is it? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I say, do you go outside and you look up and you see a trail? Bill, I'm telling you, I saw one time, it was only one time, a plane flying vertically,
yeah,
leaving a chemtrail.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen them go from horizon to horizon. I've seen them go form a curve. And I ask people, do you see anything strange in the sky? What do you think these things? Well, what are you talking about? Oh, huh? What? Huh? That's just as disturbing to me as what we're being sprayed with. The fact that people, and you know what, Bill? And I'm only left to conclude that perhaps It's whatever is being sprayed that is causing people to not notice.
Huh.
I mean, how can we discount that?
You can't.
Until somebody in an official capacity tells me what is being sprayed, I have to assume the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody tell me I'm wrong. I have to assume the worst until I hear from someone in an official capacity. I don't want to hear from some dopey scientist on the internet telling me that they're contrails. I want to hear from an official capacity what is being sprayed in these skies.
Yep.
I know what a contrail is. It's water vapor that's left behind by a plane that it's in the atmosphere where it's so cold it freezes, and I can see it. But again, it dissipates.
Yeah.
Not these chemicals don't dissipate because it's so cold. Whatever is being sprayed by these airplanes, it's not just where you see this cloud forming from these planes. It's when it disappears. And it settles down, and people are breathing whatever this is in.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's landing on the soil and causing the soil to have a reaction.
Yep.
Or it's landing on the vegetation, and it's causing the vegetation to have a reaction. Or it's landing on the trees and causing the trees to have a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what it is. Is there, Bill? I read the letter. Is there anything in that letter that's threatening?
No.
Is there anything in that letter that is unreasonable as far as asking for answers?
No, it's not unreasonable at all.
Well, that's where we stand with this, Bill, and I can guarantee you, tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow it's supposed to rain around here, but the next sunny day, I guarantee you. I notice it when I'm with people
Mm-hmm.
that are close to me. I say, hey, look at that. Look, now tell me that's natural. Tell me that. Even they're bored with it. They're bored with me. I'm telling you, I can't let this go. It's too important because my wife is breathing it in.
Yep.
My children are breathing it in. My friends are breathing it in. My neighbors are breathing it in. And if they don't care, I care. Somebody's got to keep a tab on what's going on in this world.
Yep. Yeah, you're totally right, Joe. And, as you say, we are going to keep an eye on these things. And, Lord willing, we're not going to let them go away that easy. And, they're not going to be able to just pass us along to the next, agency to come up with the answer for us. Someone has the answer. If not, all of them have the answer.
Well, you know what, Bill? I mean, there's only so much that we can do as private citizens. This is why we have elected officials. This is why we have a police force. This is why we have a fire department. They are supposed to protect us from harm.
Yeah.
Right? It's easy to identify a fire that will bring harm to individuals, and the fire company goes out and extinguishes the fire. It's easy to identify a threat to civilians, and where the police go out and disarm the individual or individuals. But when it comes to things that are being sprayed in the sky, who's controlling that?
Mm-hmm.
Who's controlling that? And I'll tell you, though, on a subsequent broadcast, my guess is, my hope is that I will have heard back from some of these environmental agencies, which some of them are non-government organizations,
right.
Some of them will be government organizations. So, I hate to think that the only people that are doing a war dance over this are peons like you and me. I want to know the people who have some real clout really care about what's going on with the environment, like these people that we're going to highlight tonight in the Women's March claim that they have.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Our second in the news story tonight. I actually have two here that are intertwined, and they're quite interesting. And you'll catch the connection once I get through them. Here's the first one. This was reported yesterday on CNN. And it goes, astronomers have found at least 7 Earth-sized planets orbiting the same star 40 light-years away, according to a study that was published Wednesday in the journal Nature. The findings were also announced at a news conference at NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C. This discovery outside of our solar system is rare because the planets have the winning combination of being similar in size to Earth and also being all temperate, meaning they could have water on their surfaces and potentially support life. This is the first time that so many planets of this kind are found around the same star, said Michael Gillen, lead study author and astronomer at the University of Liège in Belgium. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but anyway, the 7 exoplanets were all found in a tight formation around an ultra-cool dwarf star called TRAPPIST-1. Estimates of their mass also indicate that they are rocky planets rather than being gaseous like Jupiter. 3 planets are in the habitable zone of the star, known as TRAPPIST-1e, F, and G, and may even have oceans on their surface. The researchers believe that TRAPPIST-1F in particular is the best candidate for supporting life. It's a bit cooler than Earth, but could be suitable with the right atmosphere and enough greenhouse gases. If TRAPPIST-1 sounds familiar, that's because these researchers announced the discovery of 3 initial planets orbiting this same star in May. The new research increased that number to 7 planets total, which was reported Wednesday. I think we've made a crucial step towards finding if there is truly life out there, said Aumarie Truad, one of the study authors and astronomer at the University of Cambridge. I don't think any time before we've had the right planets to discover and find out if there was life. Here, if life managed to thrive and releases gases similar to what we have on Earth, we will know. Life may begin and evolve differently on other planets, so finding the gases that indicate life is key, the researchers added. This discovery could be a significant piece in the puzzle of finding habitable environments, places that are conducive to life, said Thomas Zurbuchen, an associate administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directorate. Answering the question, are we alone, is a top science priority. And finding so many planets like these for the first time in the habitable zone is a remarkable step towards that goal. And as we've learned from studying and discovering exoplanets before, where there is one, there are more, said Sarah Seeger, professor of planetary science and physics at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Seeger and other researchers are encouraged by the discovery of this system because it improves our chances of finding another habitable planet like Earth in the future by knowing where to look. And again, that was reported on CNN Health yesterday.
Wow.
Now, here's a story, Joe, and this is the second one, and this is going to link with the other one. This was reported today. Statistician and PhD candidate Sam Monfort compiled all of the data from the National UFO Reporting Center and found that more people than ever have spotted UFOs in the recent years. The number, which has been rising steadily since the 1980s, hit an all-time high in 2010 with 45,000 yearly sightings. Sightings between 1990 and 2000 rose dramatically by nearly 30,000 yearly sightings. The data also shows that NASA has the most sighting by far at almost 300 times greater than the global median. Catch that? The data show. I'm sorry, did I say NASA? The data also shows that the USA has the most sightings by far at almost 300 times greater than the global median. But these sightings are no longer all about UFOs. Instead, according to Monfort, lights are now the most popular way these sightings take form, with a saucer flying into second place. Now here's the link, Joe. Now that NASA has found 7 Earth-sized planets that could actually have alien life, these sightings could possibly be on the increase. So, and it's interesting, Joe, that our friend L.A. Marzulli also reported on this, and he has a short video on his website linking these two together, and he has a separate thing about UFO sightings as well, about the number of them on the increase. Joe, here we have a concerted effort, and again, you know, we'll be accused, as you say, you know, that saying that, you know, there's you guys see demonic activity behind every rock, but here's 2 such instances, Joe, where you have a discovery of this so-called star with all these inhabitable planets around them, and you have an increase of UFO sightings because, hey, there must be other life out there because, hey, we found these planets. So it's just a matter of time before all these sightings that we've been seeing, we have, CE5. So, I mean, where is this going to end, folks? Joe and I have produced a number of programs on this. We call it the coming alien deception, and and we've referenced it from the Bible. You can read about it in 2 Thessalonians, and you know, it's just a matter of time before this all comes to fruition. You know, we've researched and been able to point to the agencies that are working together to bring about disclosure. And Joe, I don't think it's going to be too much in the future when we are going to have ET make contact with someone high up in the government, and we are going to have this ultimate deception take place.
Yeah, you know, Bill, it's very strange because when we do a program, we have to say what we believe to be true. And, you know, as you're talking about these, you're in the news segment, I'm thinking, all right, I want to say stuff. It's almost like the angel and the devil on the shoulder thing. Well, if you say this, then what is the reaction going to be? But the challenge has always been, Bill, say what you know to be true or what you believe to be true. Now, look, we always say what we know to be true from the Scriptures. As far as speculation based upon what we believe the Scriptures are saying, we also say that as well, but we differentiate that as being speculation. And any biblical scholar will say that yes, there is some interpretation, that there is some speculation that needs to be applied to Scripture. And if we're wrong, then we're wrong. But as far as clear doctrine in the Bible, we have never wavered from that. So when we say what we said in past broadcasts and what we may say on tonight's broadcast, some of it may be speculation, but again, that speculation is based on what we believe the scriptures are teaching. So, yeah, I firmly believe, Bill, and I believe that we've shared this in the past, that the subterfuge that the federal government in this country and in countries around the world, their governments as well, have engaged in as with regards to the UFO phenomena, to me, especially in this country, is evidence to me that something is going to be released all at once. There's going to be an unveiling. I mean, you can't have, this almost goes back to the chemtrail thing. You can't have your government saying, well, you know, and you, what did you say, there's 45,000 sightings per year, Bill? Is that worldwide?
Yes, 45,000 worldwide.
You can't have your government saying, well, you know, it's lenticular clouds, it's stars, it's unusual formations of light, it's reflections. In some cases, that is true, that people see things that really aren't there. But I firmly believe the government has been involved in our government has, and world governments as well, particularly our government, I believe, has been involved in satanic exercises with regards to the UFO deception. I believe that that there are actual craft, nuts and bolts craft, that have been witnessed by individuals over this last century, that have been built, engineered and built and flown out of these secretive bases, name it, Area 51, Archuleta Mesa, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, bases that are underground, even bases that are under the sea. I think that technology, I'm firmly convinced that technology exists to produce these aircraft with supernatural design. Mm-hmm. Okay, let me make that clear, that I think our government and the governments of the world have been working with demonic entities to produce these aircraft to fly at strategic intervals, to be seen by individuals, and then to be denied by the government themselves. You hear what I just said? Mm-hmm. They produce them, they fly them, and then they say, oh, what are you guys talking about? You know, we don't acknowledge UFOs. We don't want to get involved in that stuff. You know what? To me, that's all baloney. They're building these aircraft somewhere. Do I have to tell you exactly where? I don't know where they are. They're building them somewhere that nobody knows about, and if somebody wants to spill the beans, they're going to get killed. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. They build these aircraft, they send them out, and they fly them. People see them, they report them. You know, look, it's not just people that have been left out of lunatic asylums that have seen UFO aircraft. You do as much research as you and I have done, Bill. Police officers, government officials have seen them.
Airline
and they go
pilots.
on record and say that they've seen them, okay? So something is going on in the skies. You're not going to tell me the police officer is going to file a report about a UFO when it's just a star or it's just a cloud. Please, come on, people. They're seeing something, and I believe they're seeing, in some cases, maybe in a lot of cases, are actual nuts and bolts craft that have been produced by our governments, whether they are, it doesn't have to be our elected officials. It could be some body, some black body somewhere that is in control of these sorts of things. Military, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I just don't know. But they're flying them, they're being seen, They're being reported, and it's very interesting that lights have kind of taken over, Bill, as perhaps the overall most reported UFO phenomena. Because Satan himself likes to portray himself as an angel of light,
mm-hmm.
and in the paranormal world, we're familiar with the phrase "go towards the light." Light is described as something that is attractive and that will give illuminance and understanding and open our minds. So, to me, it's not unusual that these lights have overtaken perhaps nuts and bolts craft as the number one visual observance of UFOs. It's very interesting that official government agencies such as NASA are engaging in these investigations to determine that we are not alone,
mm-hmm.
and it's a top priority, and that these 7 Earth-sized planets may be inhabited by life, according to NASA. You know why, Bill? Because the reality, quote unquote, the likelihood of alien life casts a shadow on the scriptures, because in nowhere does the scriptures tell us that there is human life on any other planets.
Right.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In that first line of Genesis, the earth is specified and separated from the heavens as a very special creation of God's. Why? Because humans inhabit the earth.
Mm-hmm.
God's greatest creation, human beings. So any of what goes on with the UFOs and aliens and the push toward look, Bill, it's not just government agencies like NASA. It's other agencies like MUFON and NUFORC, National UFO Reporting Center, that keep a tab on all these UFO sightings, and they go out and they meet all these people that supposedly saw these craft, and in many cases interacted with beings from these craft. This is all a satanic ruse, as you said, Bill, to set us up, as we learn from 2 Thessalonians, for the great deception that is coming.
Mm-hmm. We've
maintained it, and there's nothing that I've seen or heard in the last 5 or so years that have veered us off of that path, that Satan is going to somehow use this ruse of human beings somehow being the progeny of extraterrestrial beings.
Yep.
And Bill, even to the point where the greatest Darwinist of our time, Richard Dawkins, has speculated that we may be the progeny of extraterrestrials.
Yep. Yeah.
So people better keep an eye out and an ear out for these deceptions that are coming down. We've warned you over the past years that this deception is coming. And Bill, as you said earlier, there is probably most likely going to be some sort of an official announcement, because they've been so secretive. And to me, that is evidence that they are up to something.
Mm-hmm.
That there's going to be an official announcement somewhere, somehow, from some agency, that they have made contact. Don't be afraid. This is what's happening, and take it from there. Everything is speculation. as far as that goes.
Yep. Yeah, we certainly will be keeping an eye out, and we'll be reporting on it as news stories come out and as they unfold. So, folks, this is part of what we do at Answers for the Paranormal. We address these kind of stories, and we filter them through the Word of God, and we give you our opinion on what is happening out there. All right, Joe. So we have about an hour left. So let's get into our material for tonight. So where do you want to start at, brother?
Well, let's get right into the Women's March. I have this broken down into a couple different segments. I have a segment that actually looks at exactly what 17 speakers said, who they are, and what they said. Now, I have to say at the outset that this Women's March was about the speaker part of this march was about 5.5 hours. ABC covered all 6 hours of this event. I got through the first 2 hours. I think enough was said in the first 2 hours from the speakers. And again, it's about 17 speakers. Who they are, I'll tell you who they are and and the things that they said that I think that need to be repeated and highlighted and commented on. If the opportunity arises, we'll get into the rest of the 3+ hours of that march. But there's so much ground to cover in what we do, Bill. I don't know if we'll ever get to that. But again, I think that there was enough said in the first 2 hours that you'll get the gist of what this Women's March was all about. So unless you have anything else to say, Bill, before I start, I'm gonna hit on a few points before I actually get into what the speakers were talking about.
Yeah, by all means, Joe. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, here's what I want to say at the very outset, Bill. I know that this is going to be difficult in our soundbite and our crib note culture. We're in a culture where you hear something and you don't really look into it. You just assimilate it into your being or into your thought process at the very outset without actually checking into what was said or what was done. So we really do have a soundbite and a crib note culture. So to follow along with the show is going to be very, very hard, but it's crucial to hear what these people say. Not just the celebrities, but what the secondary figures have to say about what they believe and what they want to see happen in this country and in the world. I think that's really, really critical at the outset, because we had, Bill, at this Women's March, you had a bunch of celebrities that spoke, but I'm telling you, and I mentioned this to Bill, for those of you who are listening, in our preparation for the show, the devil is in the details. There were celebrity speakers, and then there were secondary speakers. There were celebrities who everybody knows who they are, and then there were secondary speakers. Nobody probably knows who they are. But what they said, in my mind, is an endorsement by everyone who took the stage that day. So it's important to hear what the people that we are not familiar with, who represent organizations, have to say. So the first woman on stage, literally the first woman on the stage, gives quotes. Here's what she said. A shout out to Indigenous Women Rising. A shout out to Indigenous Women Rising. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with it, Indigenous Women Rising is a group of Native American women whose basically their platform is to defend Mother Earth. Okay, they are natives to this country who have Native American spiritual beliefs, and they hold to the defense of what they call as Mother Earth. So at the very outset, this woman says she wants to give a shout out to Indigenous Women Rising. And then she goes on to say this, though. Our ancestors are walking among us today. They are here with us. So, Bill, right off the bat, you have New Age beliefs presented that the ancestors of these Native American women are walking among them and that they are here with them. They're long dead, but they're there with them. And, you know, by the way, Bill, this woman tried to sing something, and let me tell you something, Bill. During this 6-hour event, here's what I did. Right after the Women's March, ABC carried all 6 hours of it. I watched all 6 hours of it, not straight, different intervals, but I watched all 6 hours straight, and then I watched the first 2 hours to prepare for this show. So I have an idea of what was said by everyone in this Women's March, but specifically focusing on what was said during the first 2 hours. But let me say, during these 6 hours, Bill, I have never heard worse singing or musicianship in all of my life. It was absolutely insufferable what I had to listen to as far as musicality, you know, quote unquote, because I consider myself a part-time musician and songwriter, and so what I had to listen to was so awful I can't even describe how bad it was. Not only that, I had to listen to the vile, perverse lyrics of some rap acts that were present that day. Okay? So, and then also, to backtrack a little bit, before even this woman took the stage, I noticed, I don't know if anyone noticed it, this is what I'm talking about, paying attention to everything, watching intently, listening intently to everything that was said and done. The only thing that I didn't capture really, and I saw, were the signs, and they were depraved enough. You know, they were depraved enough. I can only do so much preparation. I can't handle everything. So before anyone even speaks, I hear the crowd, and they're chanting, "Thank you, Obama. Thank you, Obama. Thank you, Obama." So we have the stage set for what was about to transpire, that this was a total support, everything that Obama did and said in the past 8 years, and as we'll see, to try to tear down everything that Donald Trump said in his what's the word I'm looking for? His
inaugural.
When he's running for president.
Oh, his campaign.
In his campaign, everything that he said in his campaign, in the debates, the day of inauguration, and at this point, it was only his second day. Okay, this was the second day after he was installed as the 45th president of the United States of America. So that needed to be kept in mind as well as we go through this series here, if it is even a series. We might just do one show, so we'll see. A lot to go through here. So The first speaker, the first guy that comes on the stage, the woman I didn't consider a speaker. There were people that just came on, Bill, that introduced other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They weren't really speakers. They just came on and they identified themselves and they introduced the next speaker. The first one is a guy by the name of Charlie Brotman. Now, I have no idea who Charlie Brotman is, but this guy, I guess he was in his 60s, late 60s, 70s, and he was trying to be funny. His name is Charlie Brotman. He announced the organizers of the Women's March, and he was trying to be funny. He said, "I consider everybody here Charlie's Angels." And let me say at the outset, Bill, let me say here at the outset that it was estimated by a number of the speakers. So this is very interesting. Estimated by a number of the speakers, the crowd that was there to be, some said 500,000 people. Okay. I really don't know what 500,000 people looks like. If you fill our football stadium here in Philadelphia, Lincoln Financial Field, it's what, 95,000 people?
Something like that.
Okay. So 500,000 people would be about 6 times that much. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was very interesting. The views that ABC gave were all from the back towards the stage. A number of the speakers came up to the microphones and said, "Look at all of you. Look at all of you out here. It's a sea of people to my left and to my right, in front of me and in back of me." I found it very, and again, I watched all 6 hours, that there was never once a shot from behind the stage out into the alleged 500,000 people that were gathered. So I don't know how many people were there that day. It was probably exaggerated. I found it very interesting that they would not give a backstage view of all of these people that were alleged to have been there. Okay, so having said that, the second speaker, and I'll tell you, I was introduced to some of these people as they came up, but I had no clue, Bill, as to who they were. The second speaker was a person by the name of Angelica Ferreira, who I guess she's an actress as well. She was identified as the chair of the artists and born to Honduran immigrants. So let's look at what America Ferreira. Bill, have you ever heard of America Ferreira?
No, never did.
Okay. She says that she was born, quote unquote, born to Honduran immigrants. Well, that's very nice. That's very nice. And then a quote, she says, "It's been a heart-rending time to be both a woman and an immigrant in this country. Our dignity, our rights, our character have all been under attack, and a platform of hate and division assumed power yesterday." She also stated that women were gathered in Washington and around the world. Apparently, Bill, according to what's her name, and I'll get to her. Oh, it should be right here. According to Gloria Steinem, Bill, there were 370 sister marches planned for the day after Trump's inauguration.
No.
370. Now, how can we verify that? I have no clue. That's what was claimed. There were 370 sister marches planned in addition to this march, this women's march in Washington. Okay, America Ferrer also goes on to say this, quote, We reject the demonization of our Muslim brothers and sisters. We demand an immediate end to the systemic incarceration of our black brothers and sisters. We will not give up our rights to safe and legal abortions. We will not ask our LGBTQ family to go backwards. We will not go from a nation of immigrants to a nation of ignorance. We will not turn our backs on the 750,000 immigrants currently protected by DACA. DACA is an organization. It's an acronym: Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a government agency or it's a private agency. So there's a lot right there, Bill, in so far as what the themes were for this Women's March.
Mm-hmm.
She also stated that women needed to stand together to, quote, save the soul of our country. So America Ferrera sets the stage right there, and I don't believe that was a coincidence that she had that to say at the very outset. She was a very sort of speaker of substance. She mentioned the LGBTQ community, the black brothers and sisters who were incarcerated. There was a platform of hate and division that assumed power and division, power yesterday. Again, this was the day after Donald Trump was installed as the 45th President of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would ask Ms. Ferrera, how do you determine hate and division that assumed power yesterday? What exactly did Donald Trump do or say that you would interpret as being hateful or divisive?
You'd think popular travel websites show you all hotels.
The heck was that? Sorry about that, Joe.
No problem. The third speaker. I'm going to try to go through this as quickly as possible. So we have about a half an hour and some change left. A woman by the name of Kristen Rolfinger. She's the executive director of Moms Rising. She talked about her grandmother and her mother fighting for women's rights. She said that women make 80 cents to a man's dollar. Women of color earn as low as 46 cents to a man's dollar. Mm-hmm. Quote, we teach our children not to bully and that bullying is not leadership. Quote, we are the leaders of our nation's needs right now. We are the leaders of our nation's needs right now. Quote, we are leading the nation forward towards policies like health care, fair pay, child care, paid family leave, criminal justice reform, gun safety, and police reform, food justice, fair treatment for all families, including immigrant families. It's very interesting, Bill, to see that this woman is the executive, this Kristen Rolfinger, is the executive director of Moms Rising, and yet she supports abortion. Now, where is the contradiction there? Where is the depravity there?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. The fourth speaker, a woman by the name of Rhea Sue. And let me just say this, Bill. Let me just say this. This woman was obviously of Oriental descent. Mm-hmm. Her last name is S-U-H, which I see clearly as pronounced Sue, Rhea Sue. Mm-hmm. She was so adored by the two women that announced her. They were so giddy, Bill. It was almost comical. They were so giddy that they said, "Oh, it's our pleasure to announce the the president of the National Resources Defense Council, Rhea Suh." S-U-H, Suh. So in my mind, they didn't even know who this woman was. This woman is the president of the National Resources Defense Council. Quote, this Rhea Suh says, "This is America. We are America." Now, you catch that, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even have this in my... I'm going to get to a part where I go through what I believe the prevailing themes during this Women's March. One of the prevailing themes was that the women in Washington on that day represented all of the women of America, and mostly, according to them, all of the women of the world. She says, "This is America. We are America." Now, I don't know about you, Bill. I've heard plenty of dissenting opinion against the Women's March from women in my own family, from women that I've encountered casually. I don't know about you, but these women do not represent all of the women of America. She went on to say this as well. "We will not be shy about standing up for what matters to us." Quote, "We don't want to have to worry about our children coming down with asthma because of dirty air." Remember, she's the president of the National Resources Defense Council here. Natural resources. Here's a humdinger, Bill. Rhea Suh says this: "Climate change is the greatest single threat to our generation." How many people would agree with that, Bill? That climate change is the greatest single threat to our generation. And let me add this: when she said that, however many were gathered there, they rose up in a cheer for that.
Mm-hmm. I don't doubt it.
Rhea Suh also says this: "Right now, we are facing a government that is putting polluters first and the rest of us last." Now, where she would have the evidence for that, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
When Donald Trump was in his second day of office, and she says, "Right now, we are facing a government that is putting polluters first and the rest of us last." How in the world would she know that? She accused the governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder, of taking a page out of Trump's playbook by poisoning the water in the city of Flint, Michigan. Now that is a harsh accusation that should not go unchallenged. First of all, I don't know what responsibility this governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder, has, but to say that he's taking a page out of Trump's playbook by poison. This woman is accusing Donald Trump of poisoning people.
Mm-hmm.
And that this Rick Snyder is taking a page out of his playbook by poisoning the water in the city of Flint. Now, I haven't done enough research to know what is going on. I know that they've had an issue, a serious issue with their water. But to suggest that a sitting governor is willfully poisoning the constituents of the city of Flint is a serious accusation that if this woman, this Rhea Suh, actually believes there should be lawsuits against the governor of Michigan that I'm not aware of. She also says this, Bill, quote, "If this new Congress and this new administration get their way, we could see thousands of more communities suffer the same fate. So she's saying that if the new Congress of the United States, predominantly Republican, and this new administration, Donald Trump's new administration, get their way, they're going to be poisoning the cities of this country, Bill.
Correct.
That's what this woman is saying. This is what I mean by you listen to what these people say and then you comment on it. You don't just depend on sound bites. You don't depend on what celebrities say. Everything that these people have said, this Kristen Rolfinger and this Rhea Sue have said, are agreed upon by all the celebrities that spoke during this women's march, the Michael Moores and the Madonnas and the the Gloria Steinems and the who's the other one that spoke? I think I'll get to her. It's here somewhere. The Ashley Judds. I assume that all of the celebrities that spoke during this Women's March endorse everything that was said by all of the speakers who took part in the Women's March that day. It's very important to understand that.
Yep.
Everyone who spoke on that stage endorses everything else that was said on that stage, unless they come out afterwards and say, I took part in this march. I believe this, but I don't believe that. I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. Why do I say that? Because you actually, I'm not going to highlight their portion of their speech, but there was a group of nuns that spoke at that women's rally that day. Nuns. So I have to assume that everything that was said on that stage, they endorse.
Right.
This is what really pisses me off, Bill. That these people don't have the guts to go on record and say, you know what? Yeah, I spoke at that rally. I believed what I said. But here is what you fill in the blank said that I don't agree with. To my knowledge, and anybody who's listening can email us, joe@answersfortheparanormal.org, william@answersfortheparanormal.org. You can send us anything that was said after the Women's March by any of the speakers that contradicted any of the other speakers. I don't believe that happened. Okay, continuing with Rhea Sue. She also says this, Bill. That's what anti-government, anti-environment, this is referring to the new Congress and the new administration. That's what anti-government, anti-environment, anti-science, anti-regulation, pro-polluter rhetoric boils down to. So she's saying the new Congress and the new administration is anti-government. She's saying they're anti-environment. She's saying they're anti-science, anti-regulation. They're pro-polluter rhetoric. Now, I want to see the evidence of that. Okay. So, the next two speakers, not a speaker, they're announcers. Vanessa Rubel, who was one of the march organizers and the head of the campaign operations, and Ginny Suss. She's one of the producers for the march. Also a lesbian and a partner of Vanessa Rubel. They announced Gloria Steinem. Now, our younger listeners may not know who Gloria Steinem is, but back in the 60s and 70s, she made her voice and her name very well known. She is a feminist icon from that era. She advanced the cause of feminism during that time period, and as a result of this march, she is doing the same thing today. Gloria Steinem said that there were, quote, 370 marches in every state, in this country and on 6 continents. She also said that one of the organizers gave birth while organizing this march. And I felt when I heard that, I said, you damn hypocrite. You're celebrating the birth of one of the organizers, the birth of a child of one of the organizers of this march, of this women's march, while at the same time you were celebrating and propagating the depravity of abortion. Mm-hmm. See, what people have to understand is these people are shameless. These people are utterly shameless. Their consciences have been seared. I repeat, their consciences have been seared. So they can say whatever they want and do whatever they want and sleep peacefully at night. So she's celebrating the birth of a child of one of the organizers of this march, and one of the themes of this march, a prevalent theme of this march, and I'll talk about it at the end, is the unmitigated and unabridged access to abortion for women in this country. It was just so unbelievable to hear her say that. Mm-hmm. She also said this. She mentioned we still have great leaders with us. And she had just prior to this mentioned the assassinations of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, and Robert F. Kennedy. She mentioned we still have great leaders with us, Bill, like Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. And when she said Michelle Obama, the cheers were hysterical, Bill. Mm. She also said that we still have those leaders, even though there were threats on their lives. Now, Bill, I'm perfectly willing to be wrong, or to admit that I missed something. Mm-hmm. Were there any threats to Barack Obama's life?
No.
Or Michelle Obama's life?
Not that I'm aware of.
You're aware of, okay. Well, she made it sound like it was like everybody should know about it. Not that I'm aware of. And you know, if there were, you mean to tell me that we wouldn't be aware of it?
Yeah.
Come on. Continuing on with what Gloria Steinem said. She mentioned Bernie Sanders' efforts toward free universal college education in the state of New York, which again drew wild cheers. Free universal college education in the state of New York. Now, why is it my responsibility, or someone in New York's responsibility, to provide free universal college education? Why is it my responsibility?
It is not.
She mentioned also stating that human rights and women's rights are human rights. This is a statement that Hillary Clinton, I guess, made famous during the campaign last year, that human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights, that the two are synonymous. Quote, Gloria Steinem said this: a Twitter finger must not become a trigger finger. In other words, to press the nuclear codes to ignite World War III. Steinem also cited some psychiatrists' assertion that Trump is mentally unstable, too much so to be president. She also celebrated the fact that, in her mind, 6 million women turned out to oppose Poland's recently passed abortion law. Now, I haven't had the time, Bill. I can't investigate all of these claims that these women make.
Mm-hmm.
She says 6 million women turned out to change the recently passed Poland abortion law. Again, a celebration of abortion.
Mm-hmm.
Gloria Steinem says this, quote, "If you force all Muslims to register, we will all register as Muslims." Catch that, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
Gloria Steinem says this, quote, "If you cannot control your body from the skin in, you cannot control your lives. And that means the right to decide whether and when to give birth without government interference." Again, a celebration of abortion.
Mm-hmm.
She says, if you can't control your body from the skin in, you can't control your lives. Bill, what I gather from that is a woman cannot control her life unless she's able to abort her baby.
Right.
Her baby. Now, think about that. A woman cannot control her life unless she is able to have a free abortion. Think about that.
Incredible.
This is what I mean, Bill, is you have to listen and think about what these women said during this march. The depravity of what these women said can't be grasped unless you do an exposition of it like we're doing tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is only the first 2 hours of it. Steinem goes on to say this, Bill, quote, "We will work for a world in which all countries are..." So listen to this one, okay? "We will work for a world in which all countries are connected.
Wow.
God," listen, Bill, "God may be in the details, but the goddess is in connection." I'm going to repeat that. Please listen. Folks who are listening in, please listen to what Gloria Steinem, probably the most famous speaker that took the stage that day. Forget about Madonna, forget about Ashley Judd, forget about any other actor or actress schmuck that took the stage there. Gloria Steinem has been doing this for 5 decades. She said this, "We will work," she's talking about these women and the organizations that they represent,
Mm-hmm.
"We will work for a world in which all countries are connected." So, there's the New World Order agenda.
Yep.
She says, God may be in the details, but the goddess is in connection. This is what I mean, Bill, by unless you listen to everything that everybody said on the stage that day, you'll miss it.
Right.
You'll think of the Women's March. You know, if you go back to look at the marches of the 60s and the 70s, they're just sound bites nowadays. Go back and listen to actually what was said. That's what I'm trying to do. What we're trying to do here tonight is looking at actually what they said to prepare people for what is coming down the road soon. She also says this, Gloria Steinem, "We are one with each other. We are looking at each other, not up. No more asking Daddy." Catch that, Bill?
Yeah.
We are one with each other. We are looking at each other, not up. No more asking Daddy. She's saying, forget about God. Anybody here who has any notion of God as a supreme being, forget about him. The only thing that we're ever going to accomplish is by looking at each other and depending on each other, and depending on human wisdom, and depending on human laws, and depending on humanism. That's it. She said, don't look to a supreme being for his guidance. Don't worry about what the Bible says. Look at each other. We are the authority. We will determine what happens on this planet. The next speaker was a woman by the name of Teresa Short. This woman, Bill, was the one who was, according to the organizers of the Women's March, the inspiration for the Women's March. According to Teresa Short's Facebook post, which went viral, it prompted the Women's March. And she didn't have much to say. She basically thanked all of the organizers and said that her granddaughters encouraged her to inspire the march. Which said to me that this Women's March, and this is the terrifying thing to me, that this Women's March is a span of generations as far as influence goes. When this woman says that her granddaughters, this woman's only in her 50s, she's talking about granddaughters that are probably, maybe some that are under 10, but most likely in their teens. So you're spanning the generations from the teens all the way up to, and you name it. Gloria Steinem is what, Bill? 70?
Oh, yeah.
75?
Got to be at least that.
So, this is not something to be taken. What really irks me is the response that, you know what, this will pass. It's a fad. It's something that happened that'll be forgotten tomorrow. No, this is not going to be forgotten. These women mean what they say. Trust me, they mean what they say. And they aren't acting solo.
No.
There are organizations out there.
Yeah, they have the banking behind them. You know, someone's backing them big time with money.
Yeah, and if you want to identify George Soros, or George Soros is the first guy that everybody goes to.
Yeah.
As far as backing financially, but there are people that are under George Soros, probably people that are above George Soros that want to see the agendas, the prevailing agendas that were highlighted in this Women's March come to pass.
Yep.
Moving right along, Bill. And we've got about a little less than 15 minutes to go through this. A woman by the name of Teresa Short. Oh, no, Teresa Short I just mentioned. Someone by the name of, and I have here with a question mark in quotes, Bob Blant. Now I have that because this person looks like a woman, but they identify themselves as Bob Blant, and they identify themselves as co-founder and a chairperson of this march. What this Bob Blant said was, now this is the person that had the birth of the daughter and the birth of a march that coincided. Okay, so this person gave birth during the planning of this march. Now, how much planning went into this march, I have no clue. But they're claiming that the birth of this Bob Blant's daughter, and she looked like a woman to me, occurred during, simultaneously with the birth of the march. This Bob Blant, and I listened to it a couple times, I couldn't get anything else other than Bob Blant. She says, out of this grassroots movement, she claiming that it was a grassroots movement.
Mm-hmm.
We have over 600 sister marches worldwide and 3 million people around the globe marching with us today. She says, in a phone call early on with our state and national organizers, Elder Bernice King told us that, quote, the Women's March is a pivotal opportunity for us to be at the forefront of healing, birthing, and elevating the consciousness of this nation. Bill, I got to repeat that. This woman, Bob Bland, who was a co-founder and chairperson of this march, said that in a phone call early on with our state and national organizers, Elder, and I don't know what she meant by Elder, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
She identifies this person as Elder Bernice King, told us that, quote, this is Bernice King speaking, the Women's March is a pivotal opportunity for us to be at the forefront of healing, birthing, and elevating the consciousness of this nation. Together we will show a new face of America, a spectrum of color, consciousness, and inclusion like never before. People got to hear what she just said. I'm not going to repeat it again. People got to hear what she just said. This is New Age philosophy, Bill.
Yep.
Right on the stage in Washington that day. People, if you miss it, it's your problem, not mine. Together we will show a new face of America, a spectrum of color, consciousness, and inclusion like never before. Bill, unfortunately, you and me are left out. We don't have color. We're pasty white.
Mm-hmm.
We have no color. We won't be welcome in that new consciousness,
Oop.
in that new inclusion. Even though I'm an Italian, I've got a little bit of an olive skin, I got a little bit of color, but I wouldn't be included in that. I'm a white male, according to this person, and every other speaker that took that stage. This, Bill, I'm telling you, this is New Age philosophy 101. This is not something that should be dismissed. This is not something that's isolated because they have a bunch of other events planned. They are infecting this country, and if you don't see it, you're not paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's manifesting in so many different ways. I mentioned to you, Bill, I feel like I have been plopped down on another planet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recognize anything anymore. Everything is upside down, and it's a fulfillment directly of prophecy, where good is described as evil, and evil is described as good.
Yeah.
There's no question in my mind that prophecy is being fulfilled before our very eyes. And to deny that is to deny the scriptures and to deny what is going on in this world today, specifically in this country. Okay, this Bob Bland goes on to say this, Bill. When we march to the White House in a few hours, it won't be the end. This is just the beginning of a movement we are co-creating together with women at the center of it. Did you catch that, Bill?
Mm-hmm. At the center.
This is just the beginning of a movement we are co-creating together with women at the center of it. They are elevating the significance of women, where women have described themselves as victims in the past, as subservient to males in the past. Now they are going on the offensive. They are saying, we, as women, are going to be at the center of this new movement. of this new consciousness, of this new inclusion, of this new face of America, this new spectrum of color. We as women are going to be at the forefront of it, the center of it. So this is what I mean by people better start listening. This is not going away, folks. I'm not, for biblical Christians, I'm not saying you should be afraid. You should be aware. Certainly, you don't have the spirit of fear.
Right.
But you better be aware of what's going on. You better be able to biblically answer people around you when they bring up these issues and not cower like Christianity does today. You better be able to uphold scriptures. All right, this Bob Bland also goes on to say this, Bill. This is just the first of 10 actions we are going to take collectively during the first 100 days of this administration. Now, I'm not aware of any other. I'm not aware of the second action. If it's taken place, I missed it.
Mm-hmm.
But she claims that there are going to be 10 actions that the organizers of the Women's March are going to take collectively in concert during the first 100 days of the administration of Donald Trump. The next speaker, Melanie Campbell. She is the chairperson of the Black Women's Roundtable. You ever heard of that, Bill?
No, never have.
The Black Women's Roundtable. Okay? She says, quote, while we march to declare we are ready for the fight. We, the Black Women's Roundtable, Black Youth Vote, National Action Network, and all of our sisters in the movement stand in solidarity with all of you. We are here to declare we are America. You see what I'm saying, Bill?
Mm-hmm.
The people that took that stage that day, they believed, you know what, and in my mind, I believe in their minds, they believed what they were saying.
Yeah.
They believed they were representing all of America.
Mm-hmm.
She stated a reason for the involvement of the Black Women's Roundtable was the protection of quality public schools across the United States. Now, I wondered when I heard her say that, if she's referring to the quality public schools that we can find in inner cities, specifically, Bill, as it pertains to you and I, proximity-wise to Philadelphia, the public schools that she's mentioning that have bars on the windows, that have metal detectors when you go in, to protect students and teachers against students bringing in any sort of weaponry into the school. And if people don't believe me, you're clueless.
Mm-hmm.
You better start looking into these things if you don't think that I'm telling you the truth. Quality public schools across the United States, they're institutions of indoctrination. That's what they are. And if you get in and you're safe, they start filling your mind with a bunch of damn hogwash like evolution and all of the other social engineering issues that they involve themselves in, instead of teaching people how to read and how to write and how to add and subtract and stuff like that. They get into social engineering. That's what public schools are today, and that's what this woman wants to protect. This Melanie Campbell goes on to say this, Bill. We march for black women. 94% of who voted for Hillary Clinton, who, by the way, won by 3 million votes over her opponent.
Right, yeah.
And they say she lost the Electoral College. So this woman is expressing a problem with the Electoral College. Now, I would like to know if the Black Women's Roundtable had ever expressed an issue with the Electoral College before this past election, or is it just now that the person that you didn't want to win actually got in and won according to the way our Constitution is set up with the Electoral College, so that it's not just states like New York and California to determine who the president is going to be, but we actually have a representative republic and an Electoral College that represents the people and the states in determining who the president is going to be. I want to know if Melanie Campbell had a problem with the Electoral College before this election. She seems to cite that Donald Trump lost by 3 million popular votes. But you know what? This is not a democracy, folks. We have a representative republic, okay? It's a representative republic. It's not the majority rules, folks. Bill, I know we're at 9:30. How long do you want to go on here?
Yeah, I think we should probably keep the remainder for another show.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have 7 more speakers that I need to get to.
Yeah, we'll.
And I have there's easily another show here.
Right. Yeah, so let's plan on a date, within the next week or so, where we can get back together and produce part 2.
Yeah, let's absolutely do that, Bill, because it's really imperative. Because again, this is just 2 hours of this 5.5 hour plus event, where so much was said, but again, there were themes that were prevalent throughout this entire event that need to be highlighted and talked about. So, Bill, share with our listeners how they can be aware of when we're going to broadcast again.
Sure. We'll update our homepage of our website, www.answersfortheparanormal.org. Also on Facebook, our Answers for the Paranormal page. We'll update that with the date of our next broadcast. And you could also shoot us off an email if you would like us to respond to you in that way. Joe at AnswersForTheParanormal.org or William at AnswersForTheParanormal.org, and we'll send along those broadcast dates and times.
Yeah, and it's really important for people to listen in again to the second broadcast of this, because I'm going to finish up with the 7 more speakers that I want to highlight, and then I have a bunch of points that I want to talk to. And also, I want to highlight what I believe the prevailing themes were. And this is not subjective. To me, this is objective. Anyone who listened to all of the speakers that took the stage that day, they can't say, "Hey, Joe, you were just imagining that."
Yeah,
no. Right. The themes that I heard, that I will bring out in the next broadcast, if you want to twist yourself into a pretzel and defy what I have to say, then be my guest, as Bill said, Joe at AnswersForTheParanormal.org, William at AnswersForTheParanormal.org. Again, this is something that needs to be watched, because the organizers and the speakers here made it very clear this was just a one-time thing, but it was going to springboard from there. And if you don't believe that these people have any power, that they don't have a voice, that they don't have influence, you're deluding yourself. Okay? I firmly believe that all of these people were speaking on behalf of the devil because of the issues that they were bringing up and supporting, and the issues that they wanted the government to support. There's no question in my mind, when you line it up against Scripture, that all of these people were speaking on behalf of the devil. So we've never backed off when we talked about people that are speaking on behalf of the devil. And I know that Christianity today they worry about making such strong statements as that. I've never worried about that. I know you've never worried about that. People want to tune in again for our next broadcast. I will wrap it all up, and you'll know, if you know what the Scriptures say about these issues, that these people were speaking on behalf of the devil, they were speaking on behalf of the New World Order, and they were speaking in the further propagation of the setting of the stage for the world to accept the Antichrist. That's what all of this is about. Whether the people that took the stage were aware of it or not is not the issue.
Yeah.
The issue is what they were saying. The funny thing is, Bill, is that these people take the stage and they make statements and grand proclamations, and they don't even know what they're saying.
Yep. Yeah, that's the way they've been deluded, Joe, and they think that they're doing it for a cause and for something that is right for women's rights, and really what they're doing is they're playing right into the schemes of the enemy.
That's right. That's right.
All right, folks. We want to thank you for tuning in tonight and listening to Answers for the Paranormal. Again, our ministry website, www.answersfortheparanormal.org, and we'll have the next date and time for the follow-up broadcast to the New World Order agenda behind the Women's March. So, Joe, I want to thank you for tonight, and it was good for us to get back into producing of a program. I know it's been a long time coming, and hopefully now we can push forward and have regular broadcasts throughout the rest of this year. All right, folks, then, till we're able to talk again, this is Joe and Bill of Answers for the Paranormal. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks, bye.